Welcome to the 2022 Economic Depression and Preparation Channel. I'm your host Tony. Thank you for joining me on this edition. As we head into the middle of May here, things are heating up on all fronts, economic and political. Please be sure to subscribe to Preach to Me. Please share with your friends, neighbors, and family members for the latest financial news, 100% pure, unadulterated news in these markets. And I appreciate your support. And please leave any comments, any concerns down below of anything, any future topics that you would like to discuss in the future. At this time, we're going to be talking about just two, three things here in particular. Many of the baby boomers, many of the later generational members of our society are coming out of retirement, according to reports, due to the sizzling cost of living adjustments that are higher than what they've had anticipated. And also, we're going to be talking about the antitrust laws that Congress is supposed to be passing to stop these big tech conglomerates and monopolies and other companies. We saw a lot of this back in the Great Depression times in the 20s and 30s, and now what we have now is corporations, corporate monopolies running the system and gaming the system. And now the government has a chance to pass some laws here. President Biden and Congress has a chance to pass some laws here to stop that. But we think that that's going to be coming later on in the election season, maybe after the midterms. That'll be the last window of hope before they can stop it. And then also we're going to be talking about the strength of the U.S. dollar. U.S. dollar index has been surging up above $95, $98. And the world is concerned. They're dumping dollars, many in China, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Turkey, you name it. They're trying to dump as many dollars as they can to help buffer the situation, as a lot of countries were indebted by the IMF and World Bank. That's another topic for another day. But basically, countries are trying to get rid of the U.S. dollar because the dollar is going to be the least sickest kid in the shop, as we know. But eventually, inflation, hyperinflation is already here and will be coming here sooner than later. So now let's get right into it, guys. As you can see, we have unretirement is becoming a hot new trend in the sizzling labor market here. This is a CNBC article published last week or 2 weeks ago. They're saying that the level of workers who retired then came back a year later is around 3.2%. Now, this is just ahead, just about where it was before the pre-pandemic levels. As you know, that we're going on the third year of this pandemic health crisis. And so now the media is saying that they have a spend, they have a pick of where they want to go. People are coming out of retirement in manufacturing sector, supposedly, allegedly in the retail sector, the travel and hospitality sector. But guys, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we still have 25 million people who's unemployed. Continuing claims, although I admit the continuing claims have been holding steady or even declining somewhat, we still have 25 million people unemployed. Now, whether they work remotely or whether they're thinking about exiting the country altogether and working somewhere else, the fact of the matter remains is that doesn't just go down overnight. And what they're showing us here is the unretirement rate. So right now, they said back in March, we had about 3.15% of retirees came back to work a year later after retiring. Okay. And so this is what they're showing the overall labor market. So not only is the labor market has to absorb these workers, but the labor market also has to absorb when May, June, graduation season is here for a lot of college graduates. And whether you're a STEM graduate or a liberal arts graduate or some other type of graduate, you're going to need to come out and get a job. That's the bottom line. And so how is the labor market going to absorb this demand for jobs at the same time the economy is slowing down? That is the paradox. They're saying that we have 5.6 million more vacancies than available workers, but how can that be true when the United States population is 335 million officially, quote unquote, okay? And of that 335 million, we have 150 million to 160 million available labor force. Okay, that means for various reasons, 18 and over, eligible to work legally without any jail time or without any stipulations. So we have about 150 to 160 million eligible workers out of a population of 335 million people and growing. So that the math doesn't add up because they're spending this as people are coming out of retirement. What happens is, the truth is with this situation, guys, is that people are coming out of retirement, getting their job because Social Security check is not enough, and in some cases, the pension check is not enough to handle the rising cost of rentals, condos, uh, automobiles, you name it. Okay, because we know that these automobiles and different things are not built to last. So the clock is running, according to MarketWatch.com, for Congress to pass big tech antitrust bills this year. So, midterms, everybody's trying to look good. All these big companies, Apple, Facebook, Meta, Google, Alphabet, Amazon, the leaders in these tech stocks that have been running legislation, basically run the economy in kind of like a corporatocracy, if we can call it that, through the government, using the government as a proxy, if you will. Now the media is saying that, look, we want Congress to pass these antitrust laws like they did in Europe. They tried to sue and get money in Europe with Apple and Facebook and all these companies. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. So this is a mixed bag here. I don't see them happening here, even though the midterms are election. I see that it happen, something like this will happen after the midterms. And if we see a big shift one way, if everything all of a sudden becomes a red wave, excuse me, and they take over as expected, then I don't see that breaking I don't see them passing these Congress passing the antitrust laws. But if President Biden manages to keep control of the House and Senate, if somehow by miracle with everything going on, because his approval rating is slipping, as you see in the polls, as people have been saying that his approval ratings around 30%, 32%. So if they don't do that, then they're not going to. But another reason why, this is regardless of political emphases and political things, is that this country has now become a monopolized nation, meaning that you go to every store in every town you go to. What do you see in every town or every small town in America? A Walmart, a McDonald's, a gas station, the same gas station, in the same drugstore, CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens. Am I right? You guys know I'm right. And you can go anywhere in the country, whether it's the Midwest, the Southwest, Southeast, Northeast. You will find those items in any small town of America, or any mid-sized suburb, or any major city. Those items will be a staple. And an Amazon Prime truck running around in the neighborhoods, blue van, running around in the neighborhoods. Okay, so they're not going anywhere. They know it. They're too big. They're bigger than the government. These companies are making way more money, trillions and trillions of dollars. And so I don't see any meaningful laws being passed about that. So, and rightfully so, they created systems that are megalopolis. But I'm just saying that in the 1920s and 30s, this exact same thing led up to the Depression. We had mega corporations merging and running everything. They were merging and buying acquisitions and trust during the Great Depression in the 30s, 20s, and 30s. And that's why we passed the Sherman antitrust laws that some of you know about, and also the other laws, the bank laws and things. But that's all gone out the window now. Banks are no longer required to have reserves, as you know. And the Sherman antitrust laws have been watered down to allow these monopolies to continue. And if there's no competition, then that leads to this type of demise. The dollar strength pushes world economy into deeper slowdown. This is BloombergNews.com here, guys. Fed rate hikes and strong dollar are hurting global growth. You see, this is a worldwide depression, but the Western economies are going to feel it more this time because there's so much dollars floating around, and more dollars will be coming. Despite the infrastructure bill not passing, President Biden, there's other bills that's floating around here. So the dollar's been gaining strength here. As you can see this chart, the greenback has climbed the level last seen in early pandemic. So apparently cash is king, ladies and gentlemen. Dollar index is well above 120 points here as we head into a summer. And the Federal Reserve raising this interest rates 50 basis points, another 100 basis points, is not going to be enough to stem the tide of inflation, as you know. And all the banks have been doing the same. They've been raising these interest rates. Both India and Malaysia surprise rate hikes this month. Okay, so you see here that the European Central Bank is following, and Indian and Malaysia central banks are following. Everybody's raising their interest rates, but it's too much, too little, too late, unfortunately. So we have to continue to use our dollars wisely, use our dollars judiciously, because that everybody's saying that the dollar is going to be trash. Cash is trash. I know Ray Dalio says that a lot, but cash initially will have some value, even though things are inflating or what, because someone will always accept the greenback for services. Someone will always accept the greenback for services until it's no longer worth anything. Okay. until we get to the point where you're bringing wheelbarrows like back in Weimar, Germany, to bring your food and gas and petrol and supplies. We're not to that point yet, but things are increasingly heading that direction, ladies and gentlemen. So continue to spend your dollars judiciously. Um, I'm not a financial planner or an advisor, but I would only be buying stocks that, of course, have dividend options or have companies that are known to be discretionary consumer discretionary stocks, such as things that you would need like security, food, water, things of that nature. Those stocks are going to be, survive this massacre that we're going to be going through, because the stock market is going to go through a transition. We're going to lose about maybe 10 to 15, 25% off the top value of what is at now. Because remember, the Dow Jones really should be around 15 or 16,000. Right now, we're still holding at 31, 30,000. So we have a long way to go before it gets to the actual value of some of these companies. And remember, we had all these SPACs and mergers, they call it on the TV, on the stock market, the SPAC, special acquisition, all those SPACs and all of that. Well, all of that's going to settle down coming up in the fall here. As I said, when these rates get to a certain point, mortgage rates are going above 6%, inflation's going above 10%. So you can see where all these companies are going to get bought out by the big five companies that run most of the stuff, and also the investment firms like BlackRock and Vanguard that run most of the stuff in the U.S. anyway, and foreign investment too that own most of these high-rise hotels that you see in these cities, like from Russia and China, foreign investment from the UAE. United Arab Emirates that own most of these hotels and different condos and banks you see in these places like Miami or any of these other big cities, Hawaii or any of these other big cities in the U.S. So, guys, continue to prepare. I know this is kind of long-winded. I just want to give you an update for today. Thank you for your support. I look forward to seeing you on the next video, and another live stream could be coming soon by the end of the month. Thank you. Take it easy. Bye-bye.